This is Greggy. Greggy has his struggles. He struggles with understanding instructions and he struggles with certain social cues, but he doesn't address his struggles. He's been recommended to even get a diagnosis, but he ignores it and pushes it all away. Pretends it's not even there, buries it. Greggy gets given an instruction, but Greggy doesn't always understand basic instructions, so he doesn't perform his job well. People just think he's lazy and doesn't give a shit, so he ends up giving off the wrong impression to people. People react negatively to Greggy, Greggy then reacts negatively to people and the situation.
Oh, it was a job anyway. The boss is an idiot. Oh, they're a group of people to hang with anyway. Everyone's a bunch of cunts. Women are bitches.
Greggy continues his way of life of anger, confusion, and hatred for everyone around him. Does this sound like you? So this February, I went to Norway. I travelled to Norway to volunteer on a kind of like a farm. It's for animals, really. It's just a place where they have a lot of animals. All this had been organised a few months prior, before my arrival. So I finally arrived at my destination, met a couple in their 50s. The names were Ivor and Helga, a married couple. They introduced to me how things worked, how to do the tasks, such as feeding them, looking after them, cleaning their pens, and so forth. There was a lot to remember, like a lot. So much information is taken in a short amount of time. Now, I struggle with instructions. That's always been my thing. I just don't always understand basic instructions. So these tasks were somewhat overwhelming to me, some more than others. So when I get a bit overwhelmed, I don't do my job properly. So a few days go by, I make a few mistakes. One evening I made a few serious-ish mistakes, like mistakes that need to be picked up on. I just didn't get things right. I did a few things that I shouldn't have. I can't remember what it was now, like I shut a door that shouldn't have been shut or something. So here I am in bed about 10 o'clock at night and Ivor comes into my room and he starts having a go at me, basically saying that I need to wake up, I need to focus, I'm not up to the task, you just seem more interested in just sitting on your laptop, because at the time I was on my laptop, so apparently I was interested to sit on my laptop. So this went on for about 5 minutes. I'm just in my bed, sort of pajamas, okay. He left then and I'm just sitting in my bedroom like, what the fuck has just happened? Here I am in the middle of nowhere in Norway with these two people and the husband just had a go at me. What the fuck am I doing? I was just sat up for about 20 minutes just like, what the fuck do I do now? So here I am in the deepest depths of Norway in the middle of nowhere, now hating my existence where I am. So within about 12 hours, after a chat with my mum and just mulling everything over, I decide to leave. So Ivor and Helga, they went away for a couple of days. They left me in charge. They went away to go to their cabin, do some stuff with their dogs or something, I don't care. So that gave me 2 days then left. I sent them a message saying, just like, oh, sorry things didn't work out, blah, 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 but I'm gonna leave after you get back. I couldn't really just leave there and then because one, I was in the middle of nowhere. For two, I was in charge of the animals. I couldn't just abandon them. They could just like die or something if I leave them like unfed or something. Probably not, but I felt like I couldn't just leave them. But I decided there and then I am just getting the out of there. I felt so uncomfortable being in that house. Like the husband came into the room and had a go at me. Basically, I've traveled a lot around the world. I've volunteered a lot. I've worked quite a bit abroad in my 20s. Never had I been like shouted at or had a go at like that. And I thought, what the am I doing here? I'm in the middle of nowhere doing something I now don't really enjoy. I feel awkward as What the am I doing? They eventually came back like 2 days later and had like a last supper, sat down at the dinner table together. I'm just sitting there not making eye contact. I've never had such an awkward dinner in my life. I'm just feeling anxious beyond belief. Like the anxiety was just in me and just making small talk and oh, it's horrible. I was in such a horrid, awkward situation. And then I eventually told them, like the reason why I think I struggled a lot is because of my autism. I don't follow instructions very well. And Helga said to me, we wish you would have told us. It makes more sense now. And if I'd have been honest with them at the beginning, then maybe we could have sorted something out, just worked things out a bit differently. Because I didn't tell them that I struggle with instructions, it could be autism, ADHD, dyslexia, whatever, I don't know, then maybe they could have worked something out. Maybe then they wouldn't have had the impression that I was just a lazy that I didn't give a that I'd rather just sit and play on my laptop and not do a good enough job. Because that's what it seemed like to them, that I was just a lazy who didn't give a shit. But in reality, I was actually struggling a lot with all these instructions, trying to get everything right. I was struggling. I really was. To be fair, there was a lot there. There was a lot there to learn, like a lot in a short space of time. So they wish I'd just been honest. And I spent my 20s coming to terms with who I am, what I am. So I never really told people. I went through a stage, and I suppose I still go through that stage now. I don't really tell people. I don't really feel like I have to go, hello, my name's Jason, I'm autistic, nice to meet you. Here are my pronouns or some I just don't tell people. I think I can get through in life. But if I'd have told them that I'm on the spectrum of autism and one thing I really do struggle with is instructions, then maybe that whole situation would have just averted itself. It would have been absolutely fine. And I would have left like 5 days. I was supposed to stay there for 2 months. I left in less than a week. It all ended good terms. Just to clarify with Ivor and Helga, it all ended well. I mean, they're probably a bit nervous that I write a negative review on their like website or some so I didn't do that. It was just a misunderstanding. And the man got a bit panicky because they had to go away and I was making these mistakes and I came across like I didn't give a shit. But it's just reality, I was just struggling. So yeah, 2 days, I left the place. I went to an airport somewhere in the north of Norway. I flew to Oslo for a couple of days because I couldn't get anywhere out of Norway. I had to go to Oslo first, then fly. So I flew to Oslo for a couple of days, lived it up a little bit. Then I flew out, went to Amsterdam, and I then continued traveling. That's the story. The reason why I'm telling you this, it's almost like a lesson. Because if you struggle in anything in particular, you got to listen to this now. If you struggle in anything in particular, whether you could be autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, dyspraxic, anything like that, in a work environment, in any environment where it matters, you need to be honest and say what you are struggling with, whether that be at work, at school, at home. This is where you need to be honest. I'm going to use instructions as an example because that's my thing. Quite a few times in the past, people have thought I'm a bit like not really paying attention, or I'm a bit stupid almost, like not very smart, not the sharpest tool in the shed. But in reality, I'm just trying to process all their instructions. I'm just trying to process everything they told me. The worst one for me is, oh Jay, can you go to the fridge and get me this particular item on this shelf and this part of it and this shape? I'm like, fucking what? Whoa, what? That's the thing I can't. I hate doing, I've always hated. So tell people, if you have that struggle or a similar struggle in a work environment, just be honest up front and tell them. It will save you a lot of stress, honestly. Just imagine you tell your boss, you go, oh, okay, fair enough. The likelihood is he or she will go, oh, okay, fair enough, thank you for being honest. And they'll be a bit more patient with you. The worst comes to worst, and it's like 0.0001% chance this will happen. He or she will say, yeah, right, off. This is not a place for you. But I really don't think that would happen. So just the lesson is here. It's just be honest. Be honest with what you struggle with. If you struggle with instructions, be honest. Otherwise, you might think, oh, I'll just tell people, which is what I've done. And look what happened in Norway. I left my job in Norway and had a very anxious experience in Norway. I could have had a great experience there. I could have done my job with the animals, seen the Northern Lights and made videos out in Norway or some shit. But instead, 6 days later, I left. All right, I went around and partied in Spain and saw some sights and had a romance. It was great. It was brilliant. I had all that. I missed out on a wonderful once-in-a-lifetime experience in the north of Norway because of the lack of communication with me. I know it feels bad talking about it, saying things like, oh, by the way, I'm autistic, I'm this, I'm that, or I struggle with this. It's awkward, but to be honest, it will save you a lot of stress. It will save a lot of misunderstanding because people may just think that you're just an idiot. Oh, he's not paying attention. Oh, Callum's not paying attention. He's just being lazy. Oh, Greggy's just not listening. He keeps zoning out. But the reality is that we are struggling in ways that people might not necessarily comprehend. Do you understand what I mean? So use your initiative. I don't always go into every social situation and start identifying, oh, by the way, I'm autistic. Nice to meet you all. Because then people will be like, yeah, all right, weirdo. Even I'll do the same. If someone said that to me, my name's Jack, I'm autistic, yeah. I mean, I'd be like, yeah, all right, mate, it's a bit weird. This is where you got to use a bit of initiative. Like, when should you reveal your struggle? Like, when should you reveal? Like, yeah, at work, at school with a teacher. Well, after the class leaves, don't do it in front of the whole class. Oh, by the way, I'm autistic, because everyone will laugh at you. And you'd probably deserve it. But when all the class goes, speak to the teacher and say, oh, by the way, I do struggle with this. I do struggle with instructions. Just, I'm not being a lazy I'm not an asshole. But I am struggling. And the teachers will understand. The same with work. A couple of times at work in my life, I've literally had to say, look, certain things don't come obvious to me. To a normal person, things will be obvious. Things are obvious. It is obvious, but to me, it's not always obvious. Then when you tell me, it's that's kind of obvious. Okay, cool. I won't do that mistake ever again. And I've had to say that to people. So I won't say any more than that. Be honest with what you're going through at work, at school, even at home with your parents. Be honest. It'll save you a lot of stress. Just trust me.